But I don't want to take notes. I just want you to talk to me. So that's why I put this. Because then I'm not worried.
You want to ask questions or what?
Yeah, I'm just gonna. What we're doing is we're having a just how things are different, cultures and everything. So I just wrote down some things like what can I start with? Like what high school? Did you go to high school?
No, I quit high school when I was going to high school to take care of my mother. See, she was a widow, and I was the only support she had on the farm. So that's where we left.
You met another person.
Yeah, I met another gal that was graduating from high school. So.
Was that Grandma?
Mm-hmm.
So Grandma, you went to high school.
Yeah, and she was a small town, Hazelton, Indiana, of about 500, and she was the town operator. And it was a small switchboard. It had about all the farmers, and so that's where I got acquainted with her through my sister. She would talk to her between calls, and so finally she said something about, who's that bothering you? To my sister. She says, that's my brother. Oh, you have a brother? And she says, what's his name? Clifford. So that's the way I came into the picture. And then I never had seen her. And one day we had the youth meetings would be at the school, and they'd have pie suppers, and you'd bake a pie, and then of course she'd
bake a pie suppers, hadn't you?
No,
we didn't have that.
and she'd bake a pie, or your girlfriend would bake a pie, and then they'd take it, and then the other fellas, of course, would run it up on you, so that you'd have to pay a lot of money for it. Otherwise, they got to eat with your girlfriend. So 3 or 4 of the boys began to bidding on the pie and run it up to, I think, $7 or $8 for a pie, and so I let them have it. So then we went to a kind of a party. We used to call them parties, and there was a lot of young people there, and they were playing post office. I guess you remember post office.
I've heard of it. I've never played it.
Well, the girls sat on the floor on one side and the boys on the other, and then their question, and if you lose, well then you kiss the girl. You get to kiss the girl right across the way. So I was standing there getting ready to get into the game when I heard another girl say, "Oh, Estelle, I would have never done that." And I looked to see where Estelle was, and that's the first time I saw her. And she had kissed some boy across the way, see. So, So I thought, well, maybe I'll get to take her home. And I had bought me a new cap. We wore caps those days, and I wanted to take her home, and somebody stole my cap. So I was looking for my cap, and another young man took her home. So we didn't get together for quite a while. So then we started going together, and for a while, and if you want to break in, well, you do it.
Oh, no.
So we was going together, and one day she said to me, come down to the office after a while. I have something to tell you. I said, what is it? No, I won't tell you now. So I went down there after they'd closed the telephone office, and she said, well, my daddy said I can't have any more company. I said, what? No, you don't want me to have any boyfriend. So I said, well, that's too bad. No, can't have any more boyfriends. So I just felt bad about it. But on the way out, as I was going out, her best girlfriend was coming down. So I made a date with her.
Good.
And so then the next thing I know, she was going with another fella.
Grandma, that was
So
very
we
nice.
was all broke up. We was all broke up and thought that was the end of it. And one day, of course, I wasn't a Christian, or neither was Estelle. And I went to a fair where they had a fortune teller. And this fortune teller said, come on in, boys. For 50 cents, I'll tell you who you're going to marry. So we just thought, my cousin and I was together, and we thought we'd go in and see, just have a little fun out of it. And she says, you know what? For another 50 cents, $1, I'll tell you her name, her first name. And I said, are you sure? So, sure enough.
Isn't that a lot of money?
Said, yeah, that's a lot of money. But I wanted to know who her first name was, see. And she says, it starts with an S-S-T, Stella, and she couldn't quite get the name plain. And I said, is Estelle? That's it, Estelle. So on the way home, I come through this little town. On the way home, I went to a booth and called and talked to her, and she was so surprised to hear me. And I said, how about going to the theater tonight? Oh, I'd be delighted. So that's the way it started. And then it wasn't long till we were married.
Right. When you guys went on dates, Jeff, what did you guys do on dates when you guys went out?
Well, it was the early days of the car. I had a car.
Oh, you did? You had a car?
Yeah, I had a, well, when I first, before I dated Estelle, I had a horse and buggy. And that's my other girlfriend I was going with. We had a horse and buggy. Oh, I better not do that.
Tell me about the horse.
Oh, boy. Well, the horse, I had a nice horse and a new buggy, had rubber-tired wheels, and this gal of mine had a white dress on, beautiful white dress, and the horse had got into the oat barrel and ate too many oats, and of course this dashboard on the buggy is only about that high, and the first thing you know, that horse just had bowel movement, and there we drive along, and both of us embarrassed, didn't know what to talk about, and this dress was just all ruined. And I thought she'd never talk to me again. But she was a farm girl, and she knew what it was all about. But I never went with her with the buggy and horse. We had a new car, Buick, and of course she liked the Buick. I think she liked the Buick better maybe than she did me. And she would never go into a restaurant with me and have a chocolate sundae or anything like that. I don't know why. She never would go in like that, and I
just didn't want to form a habit.
Yeah, maybe that was it.
You didn't want what?
She didn't want to
Form a habit.
Right. You're making a commitment.
So then we got married, and her girlfriend and my best boyfriend, they stood up with us, and we thought about a church wedding, and then we thought, well, we'll just go to a minister's house. So we went to a Methodist parsonage minister from Princeton, and I'm sure he could have led us to the Lord right there if he did, but he never asked one thing. Are you Christian, or you going to make a Christian home? And so we were married, and then no honeymoon. Times were real hard then, and we had very, very little money, and we went to farming, and of course that's when your grandma was
I learned a lot of things in farming.
She'd never been on the farm, so it was quite exciting for her.
Did you used to have rich parents? Or did you live in the city?
She lived in the city, and her dad was a carpenter. But at that time, carpenters only made about 2.5 a day. That's all they made.
That's probably good money.
That was for a
Yeah,
day's work.
I can't believe that.
And he never had a car. Her father never had a car, so they'd have to come and get him if they wanted him to work, carpenter work. They'd come and get him, bring him back. Then one day, we were harvesting wheat, and a friend of mine wanted me to help him, what we call shocking the wheat, put that was for the combine. and we'd stand the wheat up, the bundles of wheat, then put a cover over them so if it rained it wouldn't bother the shocks of wheat. So I was doing that with for her father. And of course I got real acquainted with him good that way. And he asked me about his girls, you know, he had 4 girls and 1 boy. Oh, I said, you've got the best girls, Mr. Fiffian, you know. And if there was something where it was out of the way, I'd run and get it, you know, and try to make points with him. And we got along pretty good. And then when we got married, she says, you got to go and ask my dad. Oh, I did. I said, I can't do it. He's liable to turn me down. So we just went on and got married. She was 18, I was 19, and we just,
17.
No, you told me you were 18.
Yeah, 18. And so then we lived there, we farmed on a farm, and the crops failed, and
I sure learned a lot on the farm.
everything
What did you learn?
Oh, all the cattle and everything. It was interesting.
She never saw any animals born or anything like that. So it was quite exciting. She's got some stories she remembers. But we was there for a while and our crops failed and of course not being a Christian, everything went wrong. So she knew a couple in Chicago. So I said, why don't we go to Chicago? And that was about 300 miles from where we lived. And so I went first and stayed with this friend of hers. That's all we knew, 3.5 million people. And just one family, and no trade. So I just wondered what I was going to do. And you know, the Lord, even though I wasn't a Christian, how he took care of me. Borden Milk Company had horses and wagons, milk wagons and horses.
White horses.
Yeah. And that's where I went to put in an application. And the manager said, well, he says, there'd be no really use for you to fill out an application because I have over 300 here waiting and you'd be on the bottom of that. So I said, well, I guess there's no reason. He said, where'd you come from? I said, off the farm. You know how to handle horses? I said, sure do. And he says, let me take your application. And it just shows how the Lord worked this out. The next day, Borden had a representative there for me to come down and take a physical for a dairyman. And it was good wages, very good wages. So then I worked there for a long time. And then that gave out, and they changed over to trucks, and they cut out their hiring. So we was without work. In the dead of winter, 3 feet of snow on the ground. Her grandmother was crying for milk. And I didn't have any money for milk, or Helen. And I didn't have any money, so I went out and took my overcoat and hawked it for 35 cents to get car fare. It was 7 cents. Got on the streetcar on Halsted Avenue, just like I knew where I was going. Transferred at the Clyburn Avenue, riding right on to
A big city like Chicago.
The man here for the refrigerator.
Okay, and we got a job in a coal company. I said if any place would have work would be coal company. And you know, that's where I worked all during Depression. Made good money.
You had a job in the Depression?
Yeah, all through the Depression. I never knew what it was not to have work. And we made good money. Goodbye. I bought a new coat. I bought a new car for $600, new Chevrolet sedan, and we just lived good.
That's great.
On $39 a week.
Man, I make that 2 days now.
Maybe we ought to get this fella in
Yeah.
here. You shut it off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's out there? Different.
Our fix system there, you got it blinking.
That's good.
Yeah.
Should be going
Oh,
around taking
look at
people's
that.
pictures all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. What Grandma, what are some of the things that people wore? Do you remember some of like what kind of clothes you wore? Are they different than they are now?
You talking to me or
Oh, it doesn't matter. I just thought you might know.
Oh, just ordinary. It's generally calico.
Yeah. Probably different now, some of the weird things people wear.
Right.
She had I know when I was going with her, she had a dress with 40 ruffles on it. Real fancy. So she wouldn't let me sit close to her. You remember that? And then she used to wear what they call a midi blouse and a skirt too.
Well, we all wore midi.
High shoes, kid.
High shoes?
Yeah, high shoes.
Yeah. Did you listen to music when you were growing up?
Listen to music?
I mean, I know we do all the time now.
Yeah, I like music.
Was it as a popular of a thing?
Well, you see, there was no radio.
No.
There was no TV. There was no such a thing as that.
Was it record player?
Like, yeah, we had what we call graphophones, you know.
And the clothes was real common, just like that.
And they were something like your grandma's got over there, you know. And that's the kind, very expensive.
So not everybody had music.
No, when we got married, we bought one, what they call a pavé, and you play records on it, and that was your entertainment. Yeah.
What about, did you have a lot of, what did you do in your spare time, or did you have any? Did you have spare time to do stuff, or were you mostly working?
Did you have any time after
Free
you got
time.
to- Very little. She worked at this switchboard, $7 a week. And she took care of all her clothing and that, and her books for school, and even helped her mother's son. And so it was very little time for her.
They were all dressed very plain.
And there was no swimming pool or anything like that. You had to go through the river.
One white one, I didn't want him to get it all wrinkled up or anything, but it was a beautiful. I had it
The one with the ruffle?
I had it made. It was beautiful.
I know what about the morality then, as opposed to now? It has to be different.
Well, of course, as far as sex was concerned, that was out. No, it was never mentioned. Even your folks, no one mentioned anything about that. And many times, it's just like it is today, they learn it to the wrong places. So it was pretty much, of course, it was more undercover, and it was never talked about. You could hear some of the shows today, why people would be shocked, see. But it was, and you never heard of abortion or anything like that. There was one doctor, we had one doctor that illegally did that kind of work, but the law was on him all the time. But
Did girls get pregnant?
yeah, some. Not, I don't think near as many as they do today, though. But it was a closed. Well, you just didn't mention the word, see. And I think that's probably one thing that they were too close-mouthed on it. I know even my daddy died when I was 9. Because I had my mother and sister. But we never talked unless it was in the wrong places, you know, like the boys' room and the girls in their room. But it was a little bit
different. They didn't have money like they have nowadays.
Yeah.
But we never missed TV or anything like that. We never thought of anything like that. Even radio, telephone. We had telephone, and we used that pretty much, you know, to do our visiting.
Yeah. That's loud. Nowadays, like the bad people, the bad boys or whatever, go take drugs and go get drunk.
Yeah.
Was there anything that set them apart, you know, because there has to be good and bad people.
No. Well, there was no dope. We never heard of that. But there was drinking. I know. I never.
Drinking? I never saw about drink.
Oh yes. I never had took a drink in my life. Was about 16, and then when I went to town, of course, but got in the wrong. Even the man that I was working for, very wealthy man, had a lovely family, but he was no good and had a beautiful car, sports car, and he took a bunch of us boys to Evansville for a night, and that was where sin came in. But I think possibly TV has been more to do with the dope traffic and that today than ever was when we were young.
What do you think about the teenagers today? I know you...
Well, I think that they have. I think they've got the same temptation